When we talk about this film, people always ask me where the idea came from. And it really is kind of simple. A few years ago, my wife and I went to Scotland for our 10th anniversary, and at the recommendation of some friends, we did the Speyside Whisky Walk, which is what it sounds like. It is a walk and a master class on foot, sort of, through and around Dufftown, created and led by Michelle Myron, who is a local whiskey guide and expert. And you have drams outside of each distillery, and you get to try some of the whiskeys, talk about how they're made, talk about the history and the heritage of them, and talk about the different techniques that distillers use to come up with such different flavors for distilleries that are all in the same town, that use the same ingredients, the same basic equipment, but the whiskeys are completely different from one another.
Even in Dufftown itself, people are often surprised at how different the whiskies are. So obviously maturation is important, but when we go around, we see the different form of the stills. Glenfiddich have tiny stills, Glendillan have massive stills. And so all these factors contribute to the flavour, and they're probably a lot of them using exactly the same type of malted barley, probably the same type of yeast, and probably pretty similar water, but they're all very different whiskies.
I think that was the initial seed, but then during about 3/4 of the way through the Whisky Walk, we walked by Glenfiddich, which was in the process of getting new stills put into the still house at the time. So the roof and one of the walls were removed and big cranes were lowering the stills in. And I was really blown away by just what went into making whiskey for the first time. I was an exchange student in Scotland in college, and I've been drinking whiskey for a long time, but I never really immersed myself into the craftsmanship, the heritage, the history, and the techniques of it. And this really kind of got my mind percolating. And I was already a fan of documentaries, food documentaries especially, about master chefs, master vintners, master sommeliers, the Chef's Table on Netflix, Jiro Dreams of Sushi, the Somm films. And I really thought there was an opportunity not to make a travelogue about whiskey, but to really make a story about the heritage and the craftsmanship and the creativity that goes into making it. Kind of all just gelled from there. So it all goes back to drinking whiskey and walking around Dufftown, Scotland.